right, guys. Good morning. It's I don't know. I think what's today's date? The first is it April Fool's Day?
April Fools, yeah, but we're still not playing baseball, so I don't know. This isn't a joke anymore, I guess.
I think that's the joke, really. But I think that obviously it's for the best, and we're here this morning going to talk about a little bit of baseball mechanics. So I'm Pat Healy. I'm the owner of Healy Chiropractic in the Maine Athletic Health Center. And we're putting together just some collaborations with some professionals, specifically coaches, because we're biomechanics. We do a lot of movement pattern stuff, and we try to combine that with the technique that, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in technique, but somebody like my friend Justin here is. And so we are just kind of talking about some things that kids can be doing while they're out of sports and not really working with their full team to maybe develop some of those skills and improve their warm-up patterns, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Justin Courtney, and for me, I'm the owner of Punch Out Pitching, and was a former Division I baseball player at the University of Maine, where I met Pat, and during my 2018 season, I had Tommy John surgery and had to work on basically rebuilding my entire arm. And so from all that, we got it done. I got back into games, and today I'm a free agent trying to be a professional baseball player this next season, whenever that season starts. And so I started Punch Out Pitching really to try to give back to some local kids and basically try to impact any player who really doesn't have that personal skills coach, so that they can get better and work on mechanics, because that's really what I dug into a lot during my Tommy John surgery, to get back to 95 miles per hour. So I try to dig in as hard as I can as far as different mobility aspects and what I kind of look for in some videos. So I hope that our little series here with the Maine Athletic Health Center, I think that's going to be giving you some value and trying to just basically see there's small little things that anybody can do basically anywhere. So even in this time of quarantine and sports not being played, there's still some stuff you can do. So
yeah, and we're closed right now. Obviously, we're doing what we can to try to flatten the curve, as they say. I saw a great picture this morning of Fred Lynn, from the former Red Sox player, posted his version of flattening the curve, and it was, I think, him hitting a line drive of some sort. So
I saw.
I mean, we all have to take some humor in this, but I think our brand of what we're trying to do in this time of quarantine and social isolation is provide some information for you that might be useful at home and might give you some maybe tips that can make you better when the season does start.
I agree. And I think number one, the easiest thing that people can do is warm up to throw. Don't throw to warm up. I saw that even for myself in my high school days. Really, like, I just basically got out there, did a couple of arm circles. Well, we'll see how this goes today. And there's really way more benefit that you can get from just warming up. You don't even have to waste any of your throws just flipping it to your partner back and forth. And there's a whole bunch of exercises that you can do to warm up, and there's a whole bunch of reasoning behind it from a posture perspective, even from a sports performance perspective in baseball and coaching. Like, if you're not sweating before you even start to throw, then you're wasting throws. And everybody knows you only have so many bullets. You don't get unlimited, and sometimes your elbow has to get put back together. And everything that I would like to do in throwing programs, in arm care exercises, is to try to prevent that. So there's so much.
Oh, well, I'm a big believer in posture. I mean, we teach a lot of that to older adults who have already let it go too far, and now they're dealing with, numbness and tingling in their hands or something like that. That is not something that you can necessarily deal with proactively, but you can still stretch at that point and affect it. But doing the proper stretches when you're young and learning how to balance your muscle groups out so that they're not putting so much stress on each other is really, really important for a younger kid, or even a high school or college kid learning to throw and learning to do it correctly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, I mean, even from a coach's perspective, it seems like every coach at every level is saying, oh, if you just can tweak this and maybe throw your curveball a little bit differently. So we're constantly asking athletes to change and change this. You'll be better from doing this. But I think there does need to be some consistency. And I think a routine, a pre-throwing routine, we've talked about before, prehab instead of rehab. If you can just find a few things that make your arm feel good every day. Something with my own players, I completely stress being healthy, being mobile, being strong. That there's really, if you can be an athlete and you're healthy, you do no good to your team if you can only go out there once every 10 days and let it rip. There's something to be said for recovery. And I think it's often overlooked. I know people only have limited amounts of time sometimes to be in a high school gym. All right, warm up 5 minutes. Let's go. We only got an hour and a half. So the more that the player can do to take control, I think it helps a lot.
Yeah. And I think one thing that happens in sports a lot is they try to put a big picture item and apply it to a lot of different people, when you could say, okay, this kid specifically needs to do these things. And, one of the things that we're going to try to do over the next couple of weeks is teach you what to look for, and maybe what your body profile lends to, maybe some things that you could be doing differently or specifically to you to prevent those injuries from happening. I think it's just so important to realize that, you're not going to get to throw every day, but just because you can't throw every day doesn't mean you can't do some stretching and some warm up to just kind of get that tissue softened up and prepare your body for when you do get to throw.
Yeah. And I have a few exercises. Really, if you have any resistance band, I mean, there are so many that you can get, just off the internet, or even for, you probably have a band or something laying around the house.
I've got one. I might have one right here. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, there's a specific brand that's pretty popular in baseball right now, but even that red one right there, like a TheraBand or whatever it is, everybody's sort of seen the shoulder internal external rotation at 90 degrees. And I really like that one the best as far as to prepare me for throwing. And, rotation, forward reverse flies with that upward rotation. You could even do supination, pronation, bicep, tricep.
So if I was, if I was going to tie something down here, and I want to do at 90 degrees. So I want to keep my shoulder right at 90 degrees, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And I don't need to have a ton of tension on that, just enough to get the resistance, correct?
Exactly. And you want to make sure that elbow basically is staying right at 90 degrees, and you're not dropping it to pull it back, or you're not like really shrugging your shoulder to pull it back. So as much of that 90 degrees, I sometimes like to teach, like a field goal. You've got both sides and you just take one side down and you're going like that.
Yeah. So you feel it start to burn after just a few repetitions, just getting those muscles firing. And I think that's an important lesson too, is muscle activation. What you're doing when you're warming up is teaching the muscles how to be pliable and how to move the way you want them to. So you're teaching that muscle to do the most simple variation of what it's supposed to do, so that when you put it into a complex movement pattern like throwing, it's working effectively, and those muscle fibers are all working together for that.
Absolutely. And I like doing that, especially at 90 degrees, because you kind of add that scapular control into it. That I learned that word, so I got it beat into my head during rehab with all these PTs and everything that I was working with. And even like upward rotation stuff, if you can just take a forward fly and raise your arm up, and even if it's it's just a simple exercise, if you just add that element of rotating up above. So if you got one right there, just imagine that you had two in your hands, and you go to the side and then straight up and back down. Then that just a whole nother way to.
So
yep.
Show me again.
So you go straight across, or pull it across, and then try to go straight up and then back down to the side and back in. Yeah.
So what are you thinking for reps, Justin? What are we going to recommend as part of a warm-up? If they're doing the internal external rotation at 90 and what do you call that? What do you call that exercise?
I call that either a forward or a reverse fly with upward rotation. So both of them I'd probably try to do for 12 reps each. And if you wanted to, could go through the whole series twice. Before you throw, do it one for 12, and then after, do it again, another set of 12. There's kind of a full – I mean, you can even imagine how many exercises you can do with that band right there. But
Probably next time we'll go over a full warm-up for them. How's that?
sounds good to me. But I think there's you kind of hit the big ones right there, and we'll see if it's warming your arm up to throw here in a little bit.
And honestly, if you don't have a band, I believe very simply in just pinching your shoulder blades back. You can hold it like that, and you can move through that full range of motion like that, just contracting your shoulder blades, and that activates those muscles that stabilize your shoulder blades. A wall angel type exercise where you're going up and over like that actually really helps to activate those muscles. And then you can do the internal external rotation not at 90 as another variant. I think it's more baseball and softball specific if you are at 90 though.
I agree, and even if you're like the wall angels that are like pushing up against the wall just like you did, you can even like stand like that up against the wall and push into the wall like that position. At that position, you can go above and push into the wall.
Yeah, and no excuses really. I mean, you don't even need a wall. You can just activate your muscles by pinching back like that in the middle of the room. So
absolutely.
You saw Justin the other day. I posted a video where I was throwing and people were guessing how fast I was throwing.
Yeah, people were giving you some big time credit right off the bat.
All right, so some tips that you gave me. Where do we start? So I was here. Let me get in the shot, okay? And then start your stance. Come up here. You said stand tall here, right?
Yeah. So that posture that you're in, a lot of times players they'll be in their motion, and then sometimes they'll get really small, or they'll start to lean back, or there's a whole bunch of different things that you kind of get inefficiencies when you're trying to throw and you're leaning off of it. So wherever your posture is at your balance point, stay in it that whole time and step straight to your target. Okay. I think that helps a lot. And if you were on a side view, you'd be able to see that arm come up and be inside of 90 degrees.
So right about here, right?
Yeah. And so your front arm is basically your sight to the plate, and that elbow is what's driving you. You can direct everything from there. And then this arm is going to stay inside of 90 degrees. It can be at 90, but a little bit inside. You just don't want it to be out really long, because then you kind of have to use your shoulder and your elbow real hard to whip it around. So we just talked about keeping your arm inside of 90 when your foot lands. That way it's easier to just whip it around.
Yeah, and the big reason for that is actually because it takes torque off of your shoulder and your elbow when you're in that position. You don't want to be out here extended, because it's just like a long lever. If you're lifting up a weight out here, there's a lot more stress on these joints to do that. Whereas if you keep it in close to your body, you take the stress off those joints. So Justin, you can speak firsthand to this. So you suffered from UCL injury in college, right?
Yeah. So it kind of came out of nowhere for me. I was kind of told I had good mechanics, or was just really getting good results, so that I didn't really have to change all that much. And then I almost came back the next year, less than a year later, throwing harder than I was before. So there's definitely some adjustments that I made, but like an easy look on some video is when your front foot lands, where is your arm? Is it down, up? Or is your elbow inside, outside 90? Or you can kind of just look and see, all right, you can draw that angle. All right, I'm good there.
All right. Well, let's see if your tips paid off, and we got a radar gun. We're going to see if I can get over 60, right?
Let's do it, yeah.
All right. So I've already warmed up pretty well. I'm going to just kind of loosen up. This is, how long should a kid spend warming up before they start throwing?
I like to think 15 to 20 minutes if you really want to get hot. I think that a lot of times people are only given 5 to 10. So if you can just
get there early and make your own time, right?
That's what I'm going to say exactly, is get in there early, get your own time. It's only 5 to 10 minutes extra, but your body will definitely thank you for it, because you need it to throw and throw consistently, especially if you're in a cold weather climate.
Like me?
Your body's going to be hurting at 38 degrees if you're going to try and rip a ball as hard as you can.
Yeah, snow on April 1st, right?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
All right. So we're going to do our best here. So I'm going to get in a full shot right here. Stand up tall. Up here, I'm going to open up to within 90, and then I'm going to follow through down like that. So we'll see if this pays off here. And I am not a pitcher, so this is not a natural motion for me. But as you work on it, Justin, your flexibility should improve, right? And
absolutely. And like you said too, like a lot of people will struggle at first, that position where you're in that launch or that power position, and then getting your shoulder to kind of like roll you through that position. And that it's just really simply that external rotation of your shoulder. If you can get it to open up, and that's how you'll be able to whip through that motion and not get stuck. Because when we were talking earlier, some guys feel like they get stuck when they are at this top and then they try to throw.
All right.
So and most of the time I'll just try to say, make it smooth and make it fast.
All right, well, let's see if I can do that. $61.
Yes.
61.
There it is.
So
I like it.
All right. So with just that, I gained 1 mile per hour, which, I'm going to come back over here and close up on the computer. It's not, coaching and biomechanics, they go together. And I think posturally, I'm big on posture, hip strength, balance, and baseball is a very one-sided sport. So the stuff I'm going to teach and show you is all how to develop that coordination that isn't necessarily directly related to baseball, but it contributes to how you get better. And then the stuff, Justin here has the know-how on the technique, and combining those two ideals can go a long, long way.
Totally. And I think a lot of it too is to try to find what works for that person. And I think sometimes the skill coaches are limited because you don't have those biomechanical markers to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So anytime you can take video and assess from a biomechanics perspective, like what Pat has, it is so crucial to give over to the sports coach and say, here's what I saw. And then you can almost, it kind of tips you off to those things that the athlete needs. And then you can get them, okay, I like how you do this with your arm, but if we could try this and adjust this to that. And so you can almost use to go hand in hand with the assessment piece. And then you can kind of tailor that personalized instruction based off of that. So,
yeah, we got about a minute and a half to go. And I think my takeaways from this are, make sure you're warming up. Take the time that's needed to do that, because that's not just a tomorrow thing. That's a 30 years from now thing. And it matters. It really does. Justin, what's your takeaway from today?
Mine is warm up to throw. Don't throw to warm up. If there's anything you can take away, you don't want to waste throws playing catch. So make sure your body is ready. And if you're going to watch video, watch and see at front foot strike where that arm is, and see if it's inside 90 degrees or not. So
yeah, if somebody wants to send us a video too, we're not going to break down 100 videos on this, but if somebody, whoever the first one to send something in is, maybe we'll look at it and go over it on conversation next week. But
I'll comment on the post once it gets put up, and I'll put a still picture of what we're looking for and stuff like that. So
will it be you?
I could make it me. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think it should be you.
I can do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Justin, it was great talking to you. Let's do this again soon.
I like it, Pat. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.